This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Becky Crackle, Canal, Winchester, Ohio. This is Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Persons represented: Aeschylus, Prince of Verona; Paris, a young nobleman, kinsman to the prince; Montague and Capulet, heads of two houses at variance with each other; an old man, uncle to Capulet; Romeo, son to Montague; Mercutio, kinsman to the prince and friend to Romeo; Benvolio, nephew to Montague and friend to Romeo; Tybalt, nephew to Lady Capulet; Friar Lawrence, a Franciscan; Friar John of the same order; Balthazar, servant to Romeo; Samson, servant to Capulet; Gregory, servant to Capulet; Peter, servant to Juliet's nurse; Abraham, servant to Montague; an apothecary; three musicians; a chorus; page to Paris, and another page; an officer; Lady Montague, wife to Montague; Lady Capulet, wife to Capulet; Juliet, daughter to Capulet; nurse to Juliet; citizens of Verona; several men and women, relations to both houses; maskers, guards, watchmen, and attendants. Scene, during the greater part of the play, in Verona, once in the fifth act at Mantua. The Prologue. Enter Chorus. Chorus. Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Verona, where we lay our scene, from ancient grudge break to new mutiny, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean. From forth the fatal loins of these two foes, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life, whose misadventured piteous overthrows doth with their death bury their parents' strife. The fearful passage of their death-marked love, and the continuance of their parents' rage, which but their children's end naught could remove, is now the 2 hours' traffic of our stage; the which, if you with patient ears attend, what here shall miss, our toil shall strive to mend. Act I, Scene I. A public place. Enter Samson and Gregory, armed with swords and bucklers. Samson. Gregory, on my word, we'll not carry coals. Gregory. No, for then we should be colliers. Samson. I mean, an we be in collar, we'll draw. Gregory. Ay, while you live, draw your neck out of the collar. Samson. I strike quickly, being moved. Gregory. But thou art not quickly moved to strike. Samson. A dog of the house of Montague moves me. Gregory. To move is to stir, and to be valiant is to stand. Therefore, if thou art moved, thou run'st away. Samson. A dog of that house shall move me to stand. I will take the wall of any man or maid of Montague's. Gregory. That shows thee a weak slave, for the weakest goes to the wall. Samson. True, and therefore women, being the weaker vessels, are ever thrust to the wall. Therefore I will push Montague's men from the wall, and thrust his maids to the wall. Gregory. The quarrel is between our masters, and us their men. 'Tis all one, I will show myself a tyrant. When I have fought with the men, I will be cruel with the maids. I will cut off their heads. Gregory. The heads of the maids? Samson. Ay, the heads of the maids, or their maidenheads. Take it in what sense thou wilt. Gregory. They must take it in sense that feel it. Samson. Me they shall feel while I am able to stand, and 'tis known I am a pretty piece of flesh. Gregory. 'Tis well thou art not fish. If thou hadst, thou hadst been poor. John. Draw thy tool. Here comes two of the house of Montagues. Samson. My naked weapon is out. Quarrel, I will back thee. Gregory. How? Turn thy back and run? Samson. Fear me not. Gregory. No, marry, I fear thee. Samson. Let us take the law of our sides. Let them begin. Gregory. I will frown as I pass by, and let them take it as they list. Samson. Nay, as they dare. I will bite my thumb at them, which is disgrace to them if they bear it. Enter Abraham and Balthazar. Abraham. Do you bite your thumb at us, sir? Samson. I do bite my thumb, sir. Abraham. Do you bite your thumb at us, sir? Samson. Is the law of our side if I say aye? Gregory. No. Samson. No, sir, I do not bite my thumb at you, sir, but I bite my thumb, sir. Gregory. Do you quarrel, sir? Abraham. Quarrel, sir? No, sir. Samson. But if you do, sir, I am for you. I serve as good a man as you. Abraham. No better. Samson. Well, sir. Gregory. Say better. Here comes one of my master's kinsmen. Samson. Yes, better, sir. Abraham. You lie. Samson. Draw, if you be men. Gregory, remember thy swashing blow. They fight. Enter Benvolio. Benvolio. Part, fools! Put up your swords. You know not what you do. Beats down their swords. Enter Tybalt. Tybalt. What art thou drawn among these heartless hinds? Turn thee, Benvolio, look upon thy death. Benvolio. I do but keep the peace. Put up thy sword, or manage it to part these men with me. Tybalt. What, drawn, and talk of peace? I hate the word, as I hate hell, all Montagues, and thee. Have at thee, coward. They fight. Enter several of both houses, who join the fray. Then enter citizens with clubs. One citizen. Clubs, bills, and partisans, strike, beat them down. Down with the Capulets, down with the Montagues. Enter Capulet in his gown, and Lady Capulet. Capulet. What noise is this? Give me my long sword. Ho! Lady Capulet. A crutch! A crutch! Why call you for a sword? Capulet. My sword, I say. Old Montague has come, and flourishes his blade in spite of me. Enter Montague and his Lady Montague. Montague. Thou villain Capulet, hold me not. Let me go. Lady Montague. Thou shalt not stir 1 foot to seek a foe. Enter Prince with attendants. Prince. Rebellious subjects, enemies to peace, profaners of this neighbor-stained steel, will they not hear? What ho, you men, you beasts, that quench the fire of your pernicious rage with purple fountains issuing from your veins? On pain of torture from those bloody hands, throw your mistempered weapons to the ground, and hear the sentence of your moved prince. 3 civil brawls, bred of an airy word, by thee, old Capulet, and Montague, have thrice disturbed the quiet of our streets, and made Verona's ancient citizens cast by their grave beseeming ornaments, to wield old partisans, in hands as old, cankered with peace, to part your cankered hate. If ever you disturb our streets again, your lives shall pay the forfeit of the peace. For this time all the rest depart away. You, Capulet, shall go along with me, and Montague, come you this afternoon, to know our further pleasure in this case, to old Freetown, our common judgment place. Once more, on pain of death, all men depart. Exit Prince and attendants, Capulet, Lady Capulet, Tybalt, citizens, and servants. Montague. Who set this ancient quarrel new abroach? Speak, nephew, were you by when it began? Benvolio. Here were the servants of your adversary and yours, close fighting ere I did approach. I drew to part them. In the instant came the fiery Tybalt with his sword prepared, which as he breathed defiance to my ears, he swung about his head and cut the winds, who, nothing hurt withal, hissed him in scorn. While we were interchanging thrusts and blows, came more and more, and fought on part and part, till the prince came, who parted either part. Lady Montague. Oh, where is Romeo? Saw you him to-day? Right glad I am he was not at this fray. Benvolio. Madam, an hour before the worshipped sun peered forth the golden window of the east, a troubled mind drave me to walk abroad, where, underneath the grove of sycamore, that westward rooteth from the city's side, so early walking did I see your son. Towards him I made, but he was ware of me, and stole into the covert of the wood. I, measuring his affections by my own, that most are busied when they're most alone, pursued my humor, not pursuing his, and gladly shunned who gladly fled from me. Montague. Many a morning hath he there been seen, with tears augmenting the fresh morning's dew, adding to clouds more clouds with his deep sighs, but all so soon as the all-cheering sun should in the farthest east begin to draw the shady curtains from Aurora's bed, away from light steals home my heavy son, and private in his chamber pens himself, shuts up his windows, locks fair daylight out, and makes himself an artificial night. Black and portentous must this humor prove, unless good counsel may the cause remove. Benvolio. My noble uncle, do you know the cause? Montague. I neither know it nor can learn of him. Benvolio. Have you importuned him by any means? Montague. Both by myself and many other friends. But he, his own affection's counsellor, is to himself, I will not say how true, but to himself so secret and so close, so far from sounding and discovery, as is the bud bit with an envious worm ere he can spread his sweet leaves to the air, or dedicate his beauty to the sun. Could we but learn from whence his sorrows grow, we would as willingly give cure as know. Benvolio. See, here he comes. So please you step aside. I'll know his grievance, or be much denied. Montague. I would thou wert so happy by thy stay to hear true shrift. Come, madam, let's away. Exit Montague and lady. Enter Romeo. Benvolio. Good morrow, cousin. Romeo. Is the day so young? Benvolio. But new struck 9. Romeo. Ay me, sad hours seem long. Was that my father that went hence so fast? Benvolio. It was. What sadness lengthens Romeo's hours? Romeo. Not having that which having makes them short. Benvolio. In love? Romeo. Out. Benvolio. Of love? Romeo. Out of her favor where I am in love. Benvolio. Alas, that love, so gentle in his view, should be so tyrannous and rough in proof. Romeo. Alas, that love, whose view is muffled still, should without eyes see pathways to his will. Where shall we dine? O me! What fray was here? Yet tell me not, for I have heard it all. Here's much to do with hate, but more with love. Why then, O brawling love, O loving hate, O anything of nothing first create, O heavy lightness, serious vanity, misshapen chaos of well-seeming forms, feather of lead, bright smoke, cold fire, sick health, still waking sleep that is not what it is. This love feel I, that feel no love in this. Dost thou not laugh? Benvolio. No, cause I rather weep. Romeo. Good heart at what? Benvolio. At thy good heart's oppression. Romeo. Why, such is love's transgression. Griefs of mine own lie heavy in my breast, which thou wilt propagate, to have it pressed with more of thine. This love that thou hast shown doth add more grief to too much of mine own. Love is a smoke raised with the fume of sighs, being purged, a fire sparkling in lovers' eyes, being vexed, a sea nourished with lovers' tears. What is it else? A madness most discreet, a choking gall and a preserving sweet. Farewell, my coz. Going. Benvolio. Soft, I will go along, and if you leave me so, you do me wrong. Romeo. Tut, I have lost myself. I am not here. This is not Romeo, he's some other where. Benvolio. Tell me in sadness, who is that you love? Romeo. What, shall I groan and tell thee? Benvolio. Groan? Why, no, but sadly tell me who. Romeo. Bid a sick man in sadness make his will. Ah, word ill urged to one that is so ill. In sadness, cousin, I do love a woman. Benvolio. I aimed so near when I supposed you loved. Romeo. A right good markman, and she's fair, I love. Benvolio. A right fair mark, fair coz, is soonest hit. Romeo. Well, in that hit you miss. She'll not be hit with Cupid's arrow. She hath Dian's wit, and in strong proof of chastity well armed, from love's weak childish bow she lives unharmed. She will not stay the siege of loving terms, nor bide the encounter of assailing eyes, nor ope her lap to saint-seducing gold. Oh, she's rich in beauty, only poor that when she dies, with beauty dies her store. Benvolio. Then she hath sworn that she will still live chaste? Romeo. She hath, and in that sparing makes huge waste. For beauty, starved with her severity, cuts beauty off from all posterity. She is too fair, too wise, wisely too fair, to merit bliss by making me despair. She hath forsworn to love, and in that vow do I live dead that live to tell it now. Benvolio. Be ruled by me. Forget to think of her. Romeo. Oh, teach me how I should forget to think. Benvolio. By giving liberty unto thine eyes. Examine other beauties. Romeo. 'Tis the way to call hers exquisite in question more. These happy masks that kiss fair ladies' brows, being black, puts us in mind they hide the fair. He that is strucken blind cannot forget the precious treasure of his eyesight lost. Show me a mistress that is passing fair. What doth her beauty serve but as a note where I may read who passed that passing fair? Farewell. Thou canst not teach me to forget. Benvolio. I'll pay that doctrine, or else die in debt. Exit. End of Scene 1. Scene 2. A street. Enter Capulet, Paris, and servant. Capulet. But Montague is bound as well as I, in penalty alike, and 'tis not hard, I think, for men so old as we to keep the peace. Paris. Of honorable reckoning are you both, and pity 'tis you lived at odds so long. But now, my lord, what say you to my suit? Capulet. But saying o'er what I have said before, my child is yet a stranger in the world. She hath not seen the change of 14 years. Let 2 more summers wither in their pride, ere we may think her ripe to be a bride. Paris. Younger than she are happy mothers made. Capulet. And too soon marred are those so early made. The earth hath swallowed all my hopes but she. She is the hopeful lady of my earth. But woo her, gentle Paris, get her heart. My will to her consent is but a part. And she agree, within her scope of choice lies my consent and fair according voice. This night I hold an old accustomed feast, whereto I have invited many a guest, such as I love. And you among the store, one more most welcome makes my number more. At my poor house look to behold this night earth-treading stars that make dark heaven light. Such comfort as do lusty young men feel, when well-apparelled April on the heel of limping winter treads, even such delight among fresh female buds shall you this night inherit at my house. Hear all see, and like her most whose merit most shall be, which among view of many, mine being one, may stand in number, though in reckoning none. Come, go with me. Go, sirrah, trudge about through fair Verona, find those persons out whose names are written there, gives a paper, and to them say, my house and welcome on their pleasure stay. Exit Capulet and Paris. Servant. Find them out whose names are written here. It is written that the shoemaker should meddle with his yard, and the tailor with his last, the fisher with his pencil, and the painter with his nets. But I am sent to find those persons whose names are here writ, and can never find what names the writing person hath here writ. I must to the learned, in good time. Enter Benvolio and Romeo. Benvolio. Tut, man, one fire burns out another's burning. One pain is lessened by another's anguish. Turn giddy, and be holp by backward turning. One desperate grief cures with another's languish. Take thou some new infection to thy eye, and the rank poison of the old will die. Romeo, your plantain leaf is excellent for that. Benvolio, for what, I pray thee? Romeo, for your broken shin. Benvolio, why, Romeo, art thou mad? Romeo, not mad, but bound more than a madman is. Shut up in prison, kept without my food, whipped and tormented and— Goden, good fellow. Servant, God gi goden. I pray, sir, can you read? Romeo, ay, mine own fortune in my misery. Servant, perhaps you have learned it without book, but I pray, can you read anything you see? Romeo, ay, if I know the letters and the language. Servant, ye say honestly. Rest you merry. Romeo, stay, fellow, I can read. Reads. Signor Martino and his wife and daughters, County Anselmo and his beauteous sisters, the lady widow of Vitruvio, Signor Placentio and his lovely nieces, Mercutio and his brother Valentine, mine uncle Capulet, his wife and daughters, my fair niece Rosaline, Livia, Signor Valentio and his cousin Tybalt, Lucio and the lively Helena. A fair assembly. Gives back the paper. Whither should they come? Servant, up. Romeo, whither? Servant, to supper, to our house. Romeo, whose house? Servant, my master's. Romeo, indeed, I should have asked you that before. Servant, now I'll tell you without asking. My master is the great rich Capulet, and if you be not of the house of Montagues, I pray, come and crush a cup of wine. Rest you merry. Exit. Benvolio. At this same ancient feast of Capulets sups the fair Rosaline, whom thou so lovest, with all the admired beauties of Verona. Go thither, and with unattainted eye compare her face with some that I shall show, and I will make thee think thy swan a crow. Romeo. When the devout religion of mine eye maintained such falsehood, then turn tears to fires, and these, who often drowned, could never die, transparent heretics, be burnt for liars. One fairer than my love? The all-seeing sun ne'er saw her match since first the world begun. Benvolio. Tut, you saw her fair, none else being by, herself poised with herself in either eye. But in that crystal scales let there be weighed your lady's love against some other maid, that I will show you shining at this feast, and she shall scant show well that now shows best. Romeo. I'll go along, no such sight to be shown, but to rejoice in splendor of mine own. Exit. Scene 3. Room in Capulet's house. Enter Lady Capulet and nurse. Lady Capulet. Nurse, where's my daughter? Call her forth to me. Nurse. By my maidenhead, at 12-year-old I bade her come. What, lamb? What, ladybird? God forbid! Where's this girl? What, Juliet? Enter Juliet. Juliet. How now, who calls? Nurse. Your mother. Juliet. Madam, I am here. What is your will? Lady Capulet. This is the matter. Nurse, give leave a while, we must talk in secret. Nurse, come back again. I have remembered me. Thou's hear our counsel. Thou knowest my daughter's of a pretty age. Nurse. Faith, I can tell her age unto an hour. Lady Capulet. She's not 14. Nurse. I'll lay 14 of my teeth, and yet to my teen be it spoken, I have but 4. She is not 14. How long is it now to Lammastide? Lady Capulet. A fortnight and odd days. Nurse. Even or odd, of all the days in the year, come Lammas Eve at night shall she be 14. Susan and she, God rest all Christian souls, were of an age. Well, Susan is with God. She was too good for me. But, as I said, on Lammas Eve at night shall she be 14. That shall she, Mary. I remember it well. 'Tis since the earthquake now 11 years, and she was weaned. I never shall forget it. Of all the days of the year, upon that day, for I had then laid wormwood to my dug, sitting in the sun under the dove-house wall, my lord and you were then at Mantua. Nay, I do bear a brain. But as I said, when it did taste the wormwood on the nipple of my dug, and felt it bitter, pretty fool, to see it tetchy and fall out with the dug. Shake, quoth the dove-house, 'twas no need, I trow, to bid me trudge, and since that time it is 11 years. For then she could stand alone, nay, by the rood she could have run and waddled all about, for even the day before she broke her brow. And then my husband, God be with his soul, he was a merry man, took up the child. Yea, quoth he, dost thou fall upon thy face? Thou wilt fall backward when thou hast more wit. Wilt thou not, Jule? And by my holidame, the pretty wretch left crying, and said, Aye. To see now how a jest shall come about, I warrant, and I should live 1,000 years, and never should forget it. Wilt thou not, Jule? Quoth he. And pretty fool it stinted, and said, Aye. Lady Capulet. Enough of this. I pray thee hold thy peace. Nurse. Yes, madam. Yet I cannot choose but laugh to think it should leave crying and say, Aye. And yet I warrant it had upon its brow a bump as big as a young cockerel's stone, a parlous knock, and it cried bitterly. Yea, quoth my husband, fall'st upon thy face? Thou wilt fall backward when thou comest to age. Wilt thou not, Jule? It stinted and said, Aye. Juliet. And stint thou too, I pray thee, nurse, say aye. Nurse. Peace, I have done. God mark thee to his grace. Thou wast the prettiest babe that e'er I nursed, and I might live to see thee married once, I have my wish. Lady Capulet. Marry. That marry is the very theme I came to talk of. Tell me, daughter Juliet, how stands your disposition to be married? Juliet. It is an honor that I dream not of. Nurse. An honor? Were not I thine only nurse, I would say thou hadst sucked wisdom from thy teat. Lady Capulet. Well, think of marriage now. Younger than you, here in Verona, ladies of esteem, are made already mothers. By my count, I was your mother much upon these years, that you are now a maid. Thus then, in brief, the valiant Paris seeks you for his love. Nurse. A man, young lady, lady, such a man as all the world. Why, he's a man of wax. Lady Capulet. Verona's summer hath not such a flower. Nurse. Nay, he's a flower, in faith, a very flower. Lady Capulet. What say you? Can you love the gentleman? This night you shall behold him at our feast. Read o'er the volume of young Paris's face, and find delight writ there with beauty's pen. Examine every married lineament, and see how one another lends content. And what obscured in this fair volume lies, find written in the margent of his eyes. This precious book of love, this unbound lover, to beautify him, only lacks a cover. The fish lives in the sea, and 'tis much pride for fair without the fair within to hide. That book in many's eyes doth share the glory that in gold clasped locks in the golden story. So shall you share all that he doth possess, by having him, making yourself no less. Nurse. No less, nay, bigger. Women grow by men. Lady Capulet. Speak briefly. Can you like of Paris's love? Juliet. I'll look to like, if looking liking move, but no more deep will I endart mine eye than your consent gives strength to make it fly. Enter a servant. Servant. Madam, the guests are come, supper served up, you called, my young lady asked for, the nurse cursed in the pantry, and everything in extremity. I must hence to wait. I beseech you, follow straight. Lady Capulet. We follow thee. Exit servant. Juliet, the county stays. Nurse. Go, girl. Seek happy nights to happy days. Exit. Scene 4. A street. Enter Romeo, Mercutio, Benvolio, with 5 or 6 maskers, torch-bearers, and others. Romeo. What, shall this speech be spoke for our excuse, or shall we on without apology? Benvolio. The date is out of such prolixity. We'll have no Cupid hoodwinked with a scarf, bearing a Tartar's painted bow of lath, scaring the ladies like a crow-keeper, nor no without-book prologue, faintly spoke after the prompter, for our entrance. But let them measure us by what they will, and we'll measure them a measure and be gone. Romeo. Give me a torch. I am not for this ambling. Being but heavy, I'll bear the light. Mercutio. Nay, gentle Romeo, we must have you dance. Romeo. Not I, believe me. You have dancing shoes with nimble soles. I have a soul of lead, so stakes me to the ground I cannot move. Mercutio. You are a lover. Borrow Cupid's wings, and soar with them above a common bound. Romeo. I am too sore and pierced with his shaft to soar with his light feathers, and so bound I cannot bound a pitch above dull woe. Under love's heavy burden do I sink. Mercutio. And to sink in it should you burden love, too great oppression for a tender thing. Romeo. Is love a tender thing? It is too rough, too rude, too boisterous, and it pricks like thorn. Mercutio. If love be rough with you, be rough with love. Prick love for pricking, and you beat love down. Give me a case to put my visage in, putting on a mask. A vizard for a vizard. What care I what curious eye doth quote deformities? Here are the beetle brows, shall blush for me. Benvolio. Come, knock and enter, and no sooner in but every man betake him to his legs. Romeo. A torch for me. Let wantons light of heart tickle the senseless rushes with their heels, for I am proverbed with the grandsire phase. I'll be a candle holder, and look on. The game was ne'er so fair, and I am done. Mercutio. Tut! Done's the mouse, the constable's own word. If thou art done, we'll draw thee from the mire of this, sir, reverence, love, wherein thou stickest up to the ears. Come, we burn daylight. Ho! Romeo. Nay, that's not so. Mercutio. I mean, sir, in delay we waste our lights in vain, like lamps by day. Take our good meaning, for our judgment sits 5 times in that ere once in our 5 wits. Romeo. And we mean well in going to this mask, but 'tis no wit to go. Mercutio. Why, may one ask? Romeo. I dreamt a dream to-night. Mercutio. So did I. Romeo. Well, what was yours? Mercutio. That dreamers often lie. Romeo. In bed asleep, while they do dream things true. Mercutio. Oh, then, I see Queen Mab hath been with you. She is the fairy's midwife, and she comes in shape no bigger than an agate stone on the forefinger of an alderman, drawn with a team of little atomies athwart men's noses as they lie asleep. Her wagon spokes made of long spinners' legs, the cover of the wings of grasshoppers, the traces of the smallest spider's web, the collars of the moonshine's watery beams, her whip of cricket's bone, the lash of film, her wagoner a small gray-coated gnat, not half so big as a round little worm pricked from the lazy finger of a maid. Her chariot is an empty hazelnut, made by the joiner squirrel or old grub, time out of mind the fairies' coachmakers. And in this state she gallops night by night through lovers' brains, and then they dream of love. Or courtiers' knees that dream on courtesies straight, or lawyers' fingers who straight dream on fees, or ladies' lips who straight on kisses dream, which oft the angry Mab with blisters plagues, because their breaths with sweetmeats tainted are. Sometimes she gallops o'er a courtier's nose, and then dreams he of smelling out a suit. And sometimes comes she with a tithe-pig's tail, tickling a parson's nose as he lies asleep. Then dreams he of another benefice. Sometimes she driveth o'er a soldier's neck, and then dreams he of cutting foreign throats, of breaches, ambuscados, Spanish blades, of health's 5 fathom deep, and then anon drums in his ear, at which he starts and wakes, and being thus frightened swears a prayer or two, and sleeps again. This is that very Mab that plats the manes of horses in the night, and bakes the elf-locks in foul sluttish hairs, which once entangled much misfortune bodes. This is the hag, when maids lie on their backs, that presses them, and learns them first to bear, making them women of good carriage. This is she. Romeo. Peace, peace, Mercutio, peace. Thou talk'st of nothing. Mercutio. True, I talk of dreams, which are the children of an idle brain, begot of nothing but vain fantasy, which is as thin of substance as the air, and more inconstant than the wind, who woos even now the frozen bosom of the north, and being angered puffs away from thence, turning his face to the dew-dropping south. Benvolio. This wind you talk of blows us from ourselves. Supper is done, and we shall come too late. Romeo. I fear too early, for my mind misgives some consequence, yet hanging in the stars, shall bitterly begin this fearful date with this night's revels, and expire the term of a despised life, closed in my breast by some vile forfeit of untimely death. But he that hath the steerage of my course, direct my sail. On, lusty gentlemen. Benvolio. Strike drum. Exit. End of Scene 4. Scene 5. A hall in Capulet's house. Musicians waiting. Enter servants. Servant 1. Where's Potpan, that he helps not to take away? He shift a trencher, he scrape a trencher. Servant 2. When good manners shall lie all in one or two men's hands, and they unwashed too, 'tis a foul thing. Servant 1. Away with the joined stools, remove the court cupboard, look to the plate, good thou, save me a piece of marchpane, and as thou lovest me, let the porter let in Susan Grindstone and Nell, Antony and Potpan. Servant 2. Aye, boy, ready. Servant 1. You are looked for and called for, asked for and sought for in the great chamber. Servant 2. We cannot be here and there too. Cheerly, boys, be brisk a while, and the longer liver take all. They retire behind. Enter Capulet, etc., with the guests and maskers. Capulet. Welcome, gentlemen, ladies that have their toes unplagued with corns will have a bout with you. Aha, my mistresses, which of you all will now deny to dance? She that makes dainty, she, I'll swear, hath corns. Am I come near you now? Welcome, gentlemen. I have seen the day that I have worn a vissard, and could tell a whispering tale in a fair lady's ear, such as would please. 'Tis gone, 'tis gone, 'tis gone. You are welcome, gentlemen. Come, musicians, play. A hall, give room, and foot it, girls. Music plays, and they dance. More light, you knaves, and turn the tables up, and quench the fire, the room is grown too hot. Ah, sirrah, this unlooked-for sport comes well. Nay, sit, good cousin Capulet, for you and I are past our dancing days. How long is it now since last yourself and I were in a mask? Capulet. 2. By your lady, 30 years. Capulet. What, man, 'tis not so much, 'tis not so much. 'Tis since the nuptial of Lucentio. Come Pentecost as quickly as it will, some 25 years, and then we masked. Capulet. 2. 'Tis more, 'tis more. His son is elder, sir. His son is 30. Capulet. Will you tell me that? His son was but a ward 2 years ago. Romeo. What lady is that which doth enrich the hand of yonder knight? Servant. I know not, sir. Romeo. Oh, she doth teach the torches to burn bright. It seems she hangs upon the cheek of night, like a rich jewel in an Ethiop's ear. Beauty too rich for use, for earth too dear. So shows a snowy dove trooping with crows, as yonder lady o'er her fellows shows. The measure done, I'll watch her place of stand, and touching hers, make blessed my rude hand. Did my heart love till now? Forswear at sight, for I ne'er saw true beauty till this night. Tybalt. This, by his voice, should be a Montague. Fetch me my rapier, boy. What, dares the slave come hither, covered with an antic face, to flee and scorn at our solemnity? Now by the stock and honor of my kin, to strike him dead I hold it not a sin. Capulet. Why, how now, kinsman, wherefore storm you so? Tybalt. Uncle, this is a Montague, our foe, a villain that is hither come in spite to scorn at our solemnity this night. Capulet. Young Romeo is it? Tybalt. 'Tis he, that villain Romeo. Capulet. Content thee, gentle coz, let him alone. He bears him like a portly gentleman. And to say truth, Verona brags of him to be a virtuous and well-governed youth. I would not for the wealth of all the town here in my house do him disparagement. Therefore be patient, take no note of him, it is my will. The which if thou respect, show a fair presence, and put off these frowns, and ill-beseeming semblage for a feast. Tybalt. It fits, when such a villain is a guest. I'll not endure him. Capulet. He shall be endured. What, goodman boy, I say he shall. Go to. Am I the master here, or you? Go to. You'll not endure him, God shall mend my soul. You'll make a mutiny among my guests. You'll set a cock-a-hoop. You'll be the man. Tybalt. Why, uncle, 'tis a shame. Capulet. Go to, go to. You are a saucy boy. Is it so indeed? This trick may chance to scathe you. I know what. You must contrary me. Marry, 'tis time. Well said, my hearts. You are a prince-cox. Go, be quiet, or more light, more light! For shame, I'll make you quiet. What, cheerly, my hearts! Tybalt. Patience perforce with wilful choler meeting makes my flesh tremble in their different greeting. I will withdraw, but this intrusion shall, now seeming sweet, convert to bitter gall. Exit. Romeo to Juliet. If I profane with my unworthiest hand this holy shrine, the gentle fine is this: my lips, two blushing pilgrims, ready stand to smooth that rough touch with a tender kiss. Juliet. Good pilgrim, you do wrong your hands too much, which mannerly devotion shows in this. For saints have hands that pilgrims' hands do touch, and palm to palm is holy palmer's kiss. Romeo. Have not saints lips, and holy palmers too? Juliet. Ay, pilgrim, lips that they must use in prayer. Romeo. O then, dear saint, let lips do what hands do. They pray, grant thou, lest faith turn to despair. Juliet. Saints do not move, though grant for prayer's sake. Romeo. Then move not, while my prayer's effect I take. Thus from my lips, by thine my sin is purged. Kisses her. Juliet. Then have my lips the sin that they have took. Romeo. Sin from my lips? O trespass sweetly urged, give me my sin again. Juliet. You kiss by the book. Nurse. Madam, your mother craves a word with you. Romeo. What is her mother? Nurse. Mary Bachelor, her mother is the lady of the house, and a good lady, and a wise and virtuous. I nursed her daughter that you talked withal. I tell you, he that can lay hold of her shall have the chinks. Romeo. Is she a Capulet? O dear account, my life is my foe's debt. Benvolio. Away, begone, the sport is at the best. Romeo. Ay, so I fear, the more is my unrest. Capulet. Nay, gentlemen, prepare not to be gone. We have a trifling foolish banquet towards. Is it e'en so? Why then, I thank you all. I thank you, honest gentlemen. Good night. More torches here. Come on, then. Let's to bed. Ah, sirrah, to second Capulet. By my fay, it waxes late. I'll to my rest. Exit all but Juliet and nurse. Juliet. Come hither, nurse. What is yon gentleman? Nurse. The son and heir of old Tiberio. Juliet. What's he that now is going out of door? Nurse. Marry, that I think be young Petruchio. Juliet. What's he that follows there, that would not dance? Nurse. I know not. Juliet. Go ask his name. If he be married, my grave is like to be my wedding bed. Nurse. His name is Romeo, and a Montague, the only son of your great enemy. Juliet. My only love, sprung from my only hate, too early seen unknown, and known too late. Prodigious birth of love it is to me, that I must love a loathed enemy. Nurse. What's this? What's this? Juliet. A rhyme I learned even now of one I danced withal. One calls within, Juliet! Nurse. Anon, anon. Come, let's away. The strangers all are gone. Exit. Enter chorus. Chorus. Now old desire doth in his deathbed lie, and young affection gapes to be his heir. That fair for which love groaned for and would die, with tender Juliet matched, is now not fair. Now Romeo is beloved, and loves again, alike bewitched by the charm of looks. But to his foe supposed he must complain, and she steal love's sweet bait from fearful hooks. Being held a foe, he may not have access to breathe such vows as lovers used to swear. And she as much in love, her means much less to meet her new beloved anywhere. But passion lends them power, time means to meet, tempering extremities with extreme sweet. Exit. End of Scene 5. End of Act 1. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. Recording by Becky Crackle, Canal Winchester, Ohio. This is Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. Act 2, Scene 1. An open place adjoining Capulet's garden. Enter Romeo. Romeo. Can I go forward when my heart is here? Turn back, dull earth, and find thy centre out. He climbs the wall and leaps down within it. Enter Benvolio and Mercutio. Benvolio. Romeo! My cousin! Romeo! Mercutio. He is wise, and on my life hath stolen him home to bed. Benvolio. He ran this way, and leaped this orchard wall. Call, good Mercutio. Mercutio. Nay, I'll conjure too. Romeo! Humours! Madman! Passion! Lover! Appear thou in the likeness of a sigh, speak but one rhyme, and I am satisfied. Cry but ah me, pronounce but love and dove, speak to my gossip Venus one fair word, one nickname for her purblind son and heir, young auburn Cupid, he that shot so trim, when King Cophetua loved the beggar maid. He heareth not, he stirreth not, he moveth not, the ape is dead, and I must conjure him. I conjure thee by Rosaline's bright eyes, by her high forehead and her scarlet lip, by her fine foot, straight leg, and quivering thigh, and the domains that there adjacent lie, that in thy likeness thou appear to us. Benvolio. And if he hear thee, thou wilt anger him. Mercutio. This cannot anger him. 'Twould anger him to raise a spirit in his mistress's circle, of some strange nature, letting it there stand till she had laid it and conjured it down. That were some spite. My invocation is fair and honest, and in his mistress's name I conjure only but to raise him up. Benvolio. Come, he hath hid himself among these trees, to be consorted with the humorous night. Blind is his love, and best befits the dark. Mercutio. If love be blind, love cannot hit the mark. Now will he sit under a medlar tree, and wish his mistress were that kind of fruit as maids call medlars when they laugh alone. Romeo, good night. I'll to my truckle bed. This field bed is too cold for me to sleep. Come, shall we go? Benvolio. Go then, for 'tis in vain to seek him here that means not to be found. Exit. Scene 2, Capulet's garden. Enter Romeo. Romeo. He jests at scars that never felt a wound. Juliet appears above at a window. But soft! What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Arise, fair sun, and kill the envious moon, who is already sick and pale with grief, that thou, her maid, art far more fair than she. Be not her maid, since she is envious. Her vestal livery is but sick and green, and none but fools do wear it. cast it off. It is my lady, oh, it is my love. Oh, that she knew she were. She speaks, yet she says nothing. What of that? Her eye discourses, I will answer it. I am too bold. 'Tis not to me she speaks. Two of the fairest stars in all the heaven, having some business, do entreat her eyes to twinkle in their spheres till they return. What if her eyes were there, they in her head? The brightness of her cheek would shame those stars, as daylight doth a lamp. Her eyes in heaven would through the airy region stream so bright, that birds would sing and think it were not night. See how she leans her cheek upon her hand. Oh, that I were a glove upon that hand, that I might touch that cheek. Juliet. Ah me! Romeo. She speaks. Oh, speak again, bright angel, for thou art as glorious to this night, being o'er my head, as is a winged messenger of heaven unto the white upturned wondering eyes of mortals that fall back to gaze on him when he bestrides the lazy pacing clouds and sails upon the bosom of the air. Juliet. O Romeo, Romeo! Wherefore art thou Romeo? Deny thy father, and refuse thy name. Or if thou wilt not, be but sworn my love, and I'll no longer be a Capulet. Romeo aside. Shall I hear more, or shall I speak at this? Juliet. 'Tis but thy name that is my enemy. Thou art thyself, though not a Montague. What's Montague? It is nor hand, nor foot, nor arm, nor face, nor any other part belonging to a man. Oh, be some other name. What's in a name? That which we call a rose by any other name would smell as sweet. So Romeo would, were he not Romeo called, retain that dear perfection which he owes without that title. Romeo, doff thy name, and for that name, which is no part of thee, take all myself. Romeo. I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth I never will be Romeo. Juliet. What man art thou, that thus bescreened in night so stumblest on my counsel? Romeo. By a name I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word. Juliet. My eyes have not yet drunk 100 words of that tongue's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo, and a Montague? Romeo. Neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike. Juliet. How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here. Romeo. With love's light wings did I o'erperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out. And what love can do, that dares love attempt. Therefore thy kinsmen are no let to me. Juliet. If they do see thee, they will murder thee. Romeo. Alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity. Juliet. I would not for the world they saw thee here. Romeo. I have night's cloak to hide me from their sight, and but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued wanting of thy love. Juliet. By whose direction foundst thou out this place? Romeo. By love, that first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. I am no pilot, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with the furthest sea, I would venture for such merchandise. Juliet. Thou knowest the mask of night is on my face, else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak to-night. Fain would I dwell on form, Fain, fain deny what I have spoke. But farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swearest, thou mayst prove false. At lovers' perjuries they say Jove laughs. O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou thinkest I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt woo. But else not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond, and therefore thou mayst think my haviour light. But trust me, gentleman, I'll prove more true than those that have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess, but that thou overheardst ere I was ware my true love passion. Therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to light love, which the dark night hath so discovered. Romeo. Lady, by yonder blessed moon I swear, that tips with silver all these fruit-tree tops. Juliet. Oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon, that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable. Romeo. What shall I swear by? Juliet. Do not swear at all. Or if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the god of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee. Romeo. If my heart's dear love— Juliet. Well, do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract to-night. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning which doth cease to be ere one can say, it lightens. Sweet good night. This bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. Good night, good night. As sweet repose and rest come to thy heart as that within my breast. Romeo. Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied? Juliet. What satisfaction canst thou have to-night? Romeo. The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine. Juliet. I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again. Romeo. Wouldst thou withdraw it? For what purpose, love? Juliet. But to be frank and give it thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu. Nurse calls within. Juliet! Anon, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little. I will come again. Exit. Romeo. Oh, blessed, blessed night! I am afeard being in night, all this is but a dream, too flattering sweet to be substantial. Enter Juliet above. Juliet. 3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honorable, thy purpose marriage, send me word to-morrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite, and all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world. Nurse within. Madam! Juliet. I come anon. But if thou meanest not well, I do beseech thee. Nurse within. Madam! Juliet. By and by I come. To cease thy suit and leave me to my grief, to-morrow I will send. Romeo. So thrive my soul. Juliet. 1,000 times good night. Exit. Romeo. 1,000 times the worse to want thy light. Love goes toward love as schoolboys from their books, but love from love toward school with heavy looks. Retiring slowly. Re-enter Juliet above. Juliet. Hist! Romeo! Hist! Oh, for a falconer's voice to lure this tassel gentle back again! Bondage is hoarse and may not speak aloud, else would I tear the cave where Echo lies, and make her airy tongue more hoarse than mine with repetition of my Romeo's name. Romeo. It is my soul that calls upon my name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears. Juliet. Romeo. Romeo. My dear. Juliet. At what o'clock to-morrow shall I send to thee? Romeo. At the hour of 9. Juliet. I will not fail. 'Tis 20 years till then. I have forgot why I did call thee back. Romeo. Let me stand here till thou remember it. Juliet. I shall forget to have thee still stand there, remembering how I love thy company. Romeo. And I'll still stay to have thee still forget, forgetting any other home but this. Juliet. 'Tis almost morning. I would have thee gone, and yet no farther than a wanton's bird, that lets it hop a little from her hand, like a poor prisoner in his twisted gyves, and with a silk thread plucks it back again, so loving jealous of his liberty. Romeo. I would I were thy bird. Juliet. Sweet, so would I. Yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Good night, good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow, that I shall say good night till it be morrow. Exit. Romeo. Sleep dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace, so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly father's cell, his help to crave, and my dear hap to tell. Exit. End of Scene 2. Act 2, Scene 3. Friar Lawrence's cell. Enter Friar Lawrence with a basket. Friar. The gray-eyed morn smiles on the frowning night, checkering the eastern clouds with streaks of light, and flecked darkness like a drunkard reels from forth day's path and tightens fiery wheels. Non ere the sun advance his burning eye, the day to cheer and night's dank dew to dry, I must fill up this osier cage of ours with baleful weeds and precious juiced flowers. The earth, that's nature's mother, is her tomb. What is her burying grave, that is her womb, and from her womb children of divers kind we sucking on her natural bosom find, many for the virtues excellent, none but for some, and yet all different. O mickle is the powerful grace that lies in plants, herbs, stones, and their true qualities. For naught so vile that on the earth doth live, but to the earth some special good doth give. Nor aught so good, but strained from that fair use, revolts from true birth, stumbling on abuse. Virtue itself turns vice, being misapplied, and vice sometimes by action dignified. Within the infant rind of this small flower poison hath residence, and medicine power. For this being smelt, with that part cheers each part, being tasted slays all senses with the heart. Two such opposed kings encamp them still, in man as well as herbs, grace and rude will. And where the worser is predominant, full soon the canker death eats up that plant. Enter Romeo. Romeo. Good morrow, father. Friar. Benedicite! What early tongue so sweet saluteth me? Young son, it argues a distempered head so soon to bid good morrow to thy bed. Care keeps his watch in every old man's eye, and where care lodges sleep will never lie. But where unbruised youth with unstuffed brain doth couch his limbs, there golden sleep doth reign. Therefore thy earliness doth me assure thou art uproused with some distemperature. Or if not so, then here I hit it right, our Romeo hath not been in bed to-night. Romeo. That last is true, the sweeter rest was mine. Friar. God pardon sin! Wast thou with Rosaline? Romeo. With Rosaline, my ghostly father? No! I have forgot that name, and that name's woe. Friar. That's my good son. But where hast thou been then? Romeo. I'll tell thee ere thou ask it me again. I have been feasting with mine enemy, where on a sudden one hath wounded me that's by me wounded. Both our remedies within thy help and thy holy physic lies. I bear no hatred, blessed man, for lo, my intercession likewise steads my foe. Friar. Be plain, good son, and homely in thy drift. Riddling confession finds but riddling shrift. Romeo. Then plainly know my heart's dear love is set on the fair daughter of rich Capulet. As mine on hers, so hers is set on mine, and all combine, save what thou must combine by holy marriage, when and where and how we met, we wooed and made exchange of vow, I'll tell thee as we pass, but this I pray, that thou consent to marry us to-day. Friar. Holy Saint Francis, what a change is here! Is Rosaline, that thou didst love so dear, so soon forsaken? Young men's love, then, lies not truly in their hearts, but in their eyes. Jesu Maria, what a deal of brine hath washed thy sallow cheeks for Rosaline! How much salt water thrown away in waste, to season love that of it doth not taste! The sun not yet thy sighs from heaven clears, thy old groans ring yet in mine ancient ears. Lo, here upon thy cheek the stain doth sit of an old tear that is not washed off yet. If e'er thou wast thyself, and these woes thine, thou and these woes were all for Rosaline. And art thou changed? Pronounce this sentence then. Women may fall when there's no strength in men. Romeo. Thou chidest me oft for loving Rosaline. Friar. For doting, not for loving, pupil mine. Romeo. And badst me bury love. Friar. Not in a grave to lay one in, another out to have. Romeo. I pray thee chide not. She whom I love now doth grace for grace and love for love allow. The other did not so. Friar. Oh, she knew well thy love did read by rote that could not spell. But come, young waverer, come go with me. In one respect I'll thy assistant be, for this alliance may so happy prove to turn your household's rancour to pure love. Romeo. Oh, let us hence, I stand on sudden haste. Friar. Wisely and slow, they stumble that run fast. Exit. Scene 4. A street. Enter Benvolio and Mercutio. Mercutio. Where the devil should this Romeo be? Came he not home to-night? Benvolio. Not to his father's. I spoke with his man. Mercutio. Ah, that same pale hard-hearted wench, that Rosaline, torments him so that he will sure run mad. Benvolio. Tybalt, the kinsman to old Capulet, hath sent a letter to his father's house. Mercutio. A challenge on my life. Benvolio. Romeo will answer it. Mercutio. Any man that can write may answer a letter. Benvolio. Nay, he will answer the letter's master, how he dares, being dared. Mercutio. Alas, poor Romeo, he is already dead, stabbed with a white wench's black eye, shot through the ear with a love song, the very pin of his heart cleft with the blind bow-boy's butt-shaft. And is he a man to encounter Tybalt? Benvolio. Why, what is Tybalt? Mercutio. More than prince of cats, I can tell you. Oh, he's the courageous captain of compliments. He fights as you sing prick-song, keeps time, distance, and proportion, rests me his minim, rest 1, 2, and a third in your bosom, the very butcher of a silk button, a duellist, a gentleman of the very first house, of the first and second cause. Ah, the immortal passado, the punto reverso, the hey— Benvolio. The what? Mercutio. The pox of such antic, lisping, affecting fantasticos, these new tuners of accents. By Jesu, a very good blade, a very tall man, a very good whore. Why, is not this a lamentable thing, grandsire, that we should be thus afflicted with these strange flies, these fashion-mongers, these pardon-the-mois, who stand so much on the new form that they cannot sit at ease on the old bench? Oh, their bonds, their bonds! Benvolio. Here comes Romeo, here comes Romeo. Mercutio. Without his roe, like a dried herring. O flesh, flesh, how art thou fishified! Now he is for the numbers that Petrarch flowed in. Laura to his lady was but a kitchen wench. Mary, she had a better love to berhyme her. Dido, a dowdy. Cleopatra, a gypsy. Helen and Hero, Hildings and harlots. Thisbe, a grey eye or so, but not to the purpose. Enter Romeo. Signor Romeo, bonjour. There's a French salutation to your French slop. You gave us the counterfeit fairly last night. Romeo. Good morrow to you both. What counterfeit did I give you? Mercutio. The slip, sir, the slip. can you not conceive? Romeo. Pardon, good Mercutio, my business was great, and in such a case as mine a man may strain courtesy. Mercutio. That's as much as to say, such a case as yours constrains a man to bow in the hams. Romeo, meaning to curtsy. Mercutio. Thou hast most kindly hit it. Romeo. A most courteous exposition. Mercutio. Nay, I am the very pink of courtesy. Romeo. Pink for flower. Mercutio. Right. Romeo. Why then is my pump well flowered. Mercutio. Well said. Follow me this jest now till thou hast worn out thy pump, that when the single soul of it is worn, the jest may remain, after the wearing, soul singular. Romeo. O single-souled jest, solely singular for the singleness. Mercutio. Come between us, good Benvolio, my wits faint. Romeo. Swits and spurs, or I'll cry a match. Mercutio. Nay, if thy wits run the wild goose chase, I have done, for thou hast more of the wild goose in one of thy wits than I am sure I have in my whole 5. Was I with you there for the goose? Romeo. Thou wast never with me for anything when thou wast not there for the goose. Mercutio. I will bite thee by the ear for that jest. Romeo. Nay, good goose, bite not. Mercutio. Thy wit is a very bitter sweeting. It is a most sharp sauce. Romeo. And is it not, then, well served in to a sweet goose? Mercutio. Oh, here's a wit of Cheverel that stretches from an inch narrow to an ell broad. Romeo. I stretch it out for that word broad, which added to the goose proves thee far and wide a broad goose. Mercutio. Why, is not this better now than groaning for love? Now art thou sociable, now art thou Romeo, now art thou what thou art, by art as well as by nature. For this drivelling love is like a great natural that runs lolling up and down to hide his bauble in a hole. Benvolio. Stop there, stop there. Mercutio. Thou desirest me to stop in my tail against the hair. Benvolio. Thou wouldst else have made thy tail large. Mercutio. Oh, thou art deceived. I would have made it short, for I was come to the whole depth of my tail, and meant indeed to occupy the argument no longer. Romeo. Here's goodly gear. Enter Nurse and Peter. Mercutio. A sail, a sail, a sail. Benvolio. Two, a shirt and a smock. Nurse. Peter. Peter. Anon. Nurse. My fan, Peter. Mercutio. Good Peter, to hide her face, for her fan's the fairer face. Nurse. God ye good morrow, gentlemen. Mercutio. God ye good den, fair gentlewoman. Nurse. Is it good den? Mercutio. 'Tis no less, I tell ye, for the body hand of the dial is now upon the prick of noon. Nurse. Out upon you! What a man are you! Romeo. One gentlewoman that God hath made for himself to mar. Nurse. By my troth, it is well said. For himself to mar, quoth they. Gentlemen, can any of you tell me where I may find the young Romeo? Romeo. I can tell you, but young Romeo will be older when you have found him than he was when you sought him. I am the youngest of that name, for fault of a worse. Nurse. You say well. Mercutio. Yea, is the worst well? Very well took, in faith, wisely, wisely. Nurse. If you be he, sir, I desire some confidence with you. Benvolio. She will invite him to some supper. Mercutio. Abod, 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 so ho. Romeo. What hast thou found? Mercutio. No hare, sir, unless a hare, sir, in a Lenten pie, that is something stale and hoar ere it be spent. He sings. An old hare whore, is very good meat in Lent, but a hare that is hoar is too much for a score when it whores ere it be spent. Romeo. Will you come to your father's? We'll to dinner thither. Romeo. I will follow you. Mercutio. Farewell, ancient lady, farewell. Lady, lady, lady. Exit Mercutio and Benvolio. Nurse. Marry, farewell. I pray you, sir, what saucy merchant was this that was so full of his ropery? Romeo. A gentleman, nurse, that loves to hear himself talk, and will speak more in a minute than he will stand to in a month. Nurse. An he speak anything against me, I'll take him down, and I were lustier than he is, and 20 such jacks. And if I cannot, I'll find those that shall. Scurvy knave! I am none of his flirt gills, I am none of his skeins mates, and thou must stand by too, and suffer every knave to use me at his pleasure. Peter, I saw no man use you at his pleasure. If I had, my weapon should quickly have been out, I warrant you. I dare draw as soon as any other man, if I see occasion, in a good quarrel, and the law is on my side. Nurse. Now, afore God, I am so vexed that every part about me quivers. Scurvy knave! Pray you, sir, a word. And as I told you, my young lady bid me inquire you out. What she bade me say, I will keep to myself. But first let me tell ye, if ye should lead her into a fool's paradise, as they say, it were a very gross kind of behavior, as they say. For the gentlewoman is young, and therefore if you should deal double with her, truly it were an ill thing to be offered to any gentlewoman, and very weak dealing. Romeo. Nurse, commend me to thy lady and mistress, I protest unto thee. Nurse. Good heart, and of faith I will tell her as much. Lord, Lord, she will be a joyful woman. Romeo. What wilt thou tell her, nurse? Thou dost not mark me. Nurse. I will tell her, sir, that you do protest, which, as I take it, is a gentlemanlike offer. Romeo. Bid her devise some means to come to Shrift this afternoon, and there she shall, at Friar Lawrence's cell, be shrived and married. Here is for thy pains. Nurse. No, truly, sir, not a penny. Romeo. Go to, I say you shall. Nurse. This afternoon, sir? Well, she shall be there. Romeo. And stay, good nurse, behind the abbey wall. Within this hour my man shall be with thee, and bring thee cords made like a tackled stair, which to the high top-gallant of my joy might be my convoy in the secret night. Farewell. Be trusty, and I'll quit thy pains. Farewell. Commend me to thy mistress. Nurse. Now God in heaven bless thee. Hark you, sir. Romeo. What sayest thou, my dear nurse? Nurse. Is your man secret? Did you ne'er hear say 2 may keep counsel, putting one away? Romeo. I warrant thee my man's as true as steel. Nurse. Well, sir, my mistress is the sweetest lady. Lord, Lord, when 'twas a little prating thing. Oh, there's a nobleman in town, one Paris, that would fain lay knife aboard, but she, good soul, had as lief see a toad, a very toad, as see him. I anger her sometimes, and tell her that Paris is the properer man, but I'll warrant you, when I say so, she looks as pale as any clout in the versal world. Doth not Rosemary and Romeo begin both with a letter? Romeo. Ay, nurse. What of that? Both with an R. Nurse. Ah, mocker, that's the dog's name. R is for the dog. No, I know it begins with some other letter. And she hath the prettiest sententiousness of it, of you and Rosemary, that it would do you good to hear it. Romeo. Commend me to thy lady. Nurse. 1,000 times. Exit Romeo. Peter. Peter. Anon. Nurse. Peter, take my fan, and go before. Exit. End of Scene 4, Act 2, Scene 5. Capulet's garden. Enter Juliet. Juliet. The clock struck 9 when I did send the nurse. In half an hour she promised to return. Perchance she cannot meet him. That's not so. Oh, she is lame. Love's heralds should be thoughts which 10 times faster glide than the sun's beams, driving back shadows over lowering hills. Therefore do nimble-pinioned doves draw love, and therefore hath the wind-swift Cupid wings. Now is the sun upon the highmost hill of this day's journey, and from 9 till 12 is 3 long hours, yet she is not come. Had she affections and warm youthful blood, she'd be as swift in motion as a ball. My words would bandy her to my sweet love, and his to me. But old folks, many fain as they were dead, unwieldy, slow, heavy, and pale as lead. Oh God, she comes! Enter nurse and Peter. Oh, honey nurse, what news? Hast thou met with him? Send thy man away. Nurse. Peter, stay at the gate. Exit Peter. Juliet. Now, good sweet nurse, O Lord, why lookest thou sad? Though news be sad, yet tell them merrily. If good, thou shamest the music of sweet news by playing it to me with so sour a face. Nurse. I am a-weary, give me leave a while. Fie, how my bones ache! What a jaunt have I had! Juliet. I would thou hadst my bones, and I thy news. Nay, come, I pray thee, speak. Good nurse, speak. Nurse. Jesu, what haste! Can you not stay a while? Do you not see that I am out of breath? Juliet. How art thou out of breath, when thou hast breath to say to me that thou art out of breath? The excuse that thou dost make in this delay is longer than the tale thou dost excuse. Is thy news good or bad? Answer to that. Say either, and I'll stay the circumstance. Let me be satisfied. Is it good or bad? Nurse. Well, you have made a simple choice. You know not how to choose a man. Romeo, no, not he, though his face be better than any man's, yet his leg excels all men's, and for a hand and a foot and a body, though they be not to be talked on, yet they are past compare. He is not the flower of courtesy, but I'll warrant him as gentle as a lamb. Go thy ways, wench, serve God. What, have you dined at home? Juliet. No, but all this did I know before. What says he of our marriage? What of that? Nurse. Lord, how my head aches! What a head have I! It beats as it would fall in 20 pieces. My back on the other side! Oh, my back, my back! Beshrew your heart for sending me about to catch my death with jouncing up and down. Juliet. In faith, I am sorry that thou art not well. Sweet, sweet, sweet nurse, tell me what says my love. Nurse. Your love says, like an honest gentleman, and a courteous, and a kind, and a handsome, and I warrant a virtuous. Where's your mother? Juliet. Where is my mother? Why, she is within. Where should she be? How oddly thou repliest. Your love says, like an honest gentleman, where is your mother? Nurse. O God's lady dear, are you so hot? Mary, come up, I trow. Is this the poultice for my aching bones? Henceforward do your messages yourself. Juliet. Here's such a coil. Come, what says Romeo? Nurse. Have you got leave to go to shrift to-day? Juliet. I have. Nurse. Then hie you hence to Friar Lawrence's cell. There stays a husband to make you a wife. Now comes the wanton blood up in your cheeks. They'll be in scarlet straight at any news. Hie you to church. I must another way, to fetch a ladder, by the which your love must climb a bird's nest soon when it is dark. I am the drudge, and toil in your delight, but you shall bear the burden soon at night. Go, I'll to dinner. Hie you to the cell. Juliet. Hie to high fortune. Honest nurse, farewell. Exit. Scene 6. Friar Lawrence's cell. Enter Friar Lawrence and Romeo. Friar. So smile the heavens upon this holy act, that after hours with sorrow chide us not. Romeo. Amen, amen. But come what sorrow can, it cannot countervail the exchange of joy that one short minute gives me in her sight. Do thou but close our hands with holy words, then love-devouring death do what he dare. It is enough that I may but call her mine. Friar. These violent delights have violent ends, and in their triumph die, like fire and powder, which as they kiss consume. The sweetest honey is loathsome in its own deliciousness, and in the taste confounds the appetite. Therefore love moderately, long love doth so. Too swift arrives as tardy as too slow. Here comes the lady. Oh, so light a foot will never wear out the everlasting flint. A lover may bestride the gossamer that idles in the wanton summer air, and yet not fall. So light is vanity. Enter Juliet. Juliet. Good even to my ghostly confessor. Friar. Romeo shall thank thee, daughter, for us both. Juliet. As much to him, else is his thanks too much. Romeo. Oh, Juliet, if the measure of thy joy be heaped like mine, and that thy skill be more to blazon it, then sweeten with thy breath this neighbor air, and let rich music's tongue unfold the imagined happiness that both receive in either by this dear encounter. Juliet. Conceit, more rich in matter than in words, brags of his substance, not of ornament. They are but beggars that can count their worth. But my true love is grown to such excess I cannot sum up some of half my wealth. Friar. Come, come with me, and we'll make short work. For by your leaves you shall not stay alone till Holy Church incorporate two in one. Exit. End of Scene 6. End of Act 2.